Can you reply in the chat, guys? Am I audible? Can you reply in the chat? Am I audible, guys? Okay, guys. So welcome all you to the first day of FM revision classes. So it's a batch which is exclusively for English, and I hope there is no anyone who does not understand English. Okay. So basically, it's a 5 days class. So we'll be covering every sections, and I will be discussing in detail about what are the tips and what are the important areas we have to focus for your exam ahead in September 2021. And more importantly, before we start the section, is there anyone who haven't attended any class, is completely does not have any idea about this paper? Is there anyone right now in the batch who does not have any classes or something like that? I hope all of you have attended any sections from any of the students. Right? Okay, fine. So basically in this chapter, like when it comes to this paper, financial management paper, the preparation wise, we know that compared to other papers, when it comes to FR or compared to F8 or F5, it's a very easy paper to pass. It's a very easy paper to pass. But there are some tips we have to follow. The main tip is like we should know which are the areas we have to focus more. Because literally, if you're looking at the textbook, there is a wider theory sections and syllabus is little bit lengthy. Okay, students may have wasted literally they have wasted their time in learning some theories that will not be important for your exam. So we'll focus in detail that what are the theory areas we have to focus from each and every sections. At the same time, we'll make sure that we'll practice every important questions or types of questions which can get tested in your paper. Okay, so when it comes to this paper, we know that already it's just a 3-hour paper, and we have got 3 sections, 15 marks MCQ, and there is 3 MTQ sections and essay questions, 2 questions, which is what 20 marks, and theory plus calculation will be almost 40 to 60. But I can't say that it's 40 to 60 for every sit, because nowadays, because of the remote exam, I have seen that this weightage keeps on changing. So let's say in set 1, it will be more of theories and less calculations. And set 2, it can be more calculations and less theory. So always it will be something around 50 to 50 or 40 to 60. That's how it can come when it comes to the proportion of theory and the calculation. And this is how you have to focus mainly on your paper. So you can just note down the weightage, and especially the section A and B. Literally, I will say that now it's just about something around 2 to 3 weeks for your exams. Those who haven't studied this section A and B, just literally don't waste your time in focusing it anymore, because hardly you're going to get something around 4 to 6 marks. And if you're a student who have learned F1, such as the accountant business, that paper, now it's changed to BT. So the economic concepts which you have learned in those F1 paper is what they are going to test in this particular area, that is A and B. And even if the B section covers almost, B section is like an introduction to other sections of such as other sections of this paper itself, like let's say the working capital, the source of finance that you have learned in the cost of capital chapters. The introduction of some of these elements or instruments is what they are discussing in the first A and B sections. So from my perspective, even if you're a student who skip these 2 sections, it will not go, that's really not going to cost you much, because hardly you're going to get some 2 or 3 MCQs from this. Okay, so be more smart. Okay, in the next few weeks, don't focus more on these areas. Even if you want, you can just go through the MCQ questions of Kaplan and BPP and just learn the concepts. I'm not asking you to learn the questions, but for every answers, there will be an explanation and all this stuff, right? So it's better towards the exam, especially when it comes to A and B section, just focus on the Kaplan and revision kit and try to get the point that what type of knowledge they are trying to test in these first 2 areas. Let's say about the monetary policy or the financing policy or how to calculate the shareholders' wealth. So these are some of the basic stuffs that they're used to test in every sitting with from this particular area, which is A and B, and the major base responsibilities of a financial manager. But I feel like initially when you start this paper, if you're reading this section A, everything will be very much new for you. But if you're a student who have completed the other sections such as working capital or the investment appraisal, source of finance, business valuation, risk management, after completing these sections, if you're going back and just have a look at these sections, no, A and B, everything seems to be so similar for you. So literally, my point is here that you don't need to focus much on this area. Literally, if whatever, even if you want to focus, you can just do the questions of Kaplan and PPP and make it as a note. The different areas, the knowledge areas that they have tested in this part. That's how you can crack the first section A and B. So literally, it will take hardly 1 hour. So that's how we can plan for this paper. And even if I have told that the maximum expected mark is around 4 to 10 marks, but this 4 to 10 is not that much great. Okay. Hardly it will be some 2 or 3 MCQs. That's what 10 is the worst situation we can expect 10 marks. There will be minimum 2 or something around 2 to 3 questions will be there. MCQ questions will be there. But trust me, if you have learned the other sections properly, it will be very easy for you to relate some of the knowledge you have gained from the other areas of this paper will help you to score for the MCQs. Perfect. Next one, when it comes to working capital. So nowadays it's a very important section, the working capital section. So students namely used to skip these sections more importantly because everyone used to focus more on investment appraisal. But even the examiner have started to ask more questions from working capital section. So when it comes to working capital sections, they can ask a wide area of questions in section working capital, both in section C as well as in section A. But there is very less chance that it will get tested in MTQ section. Very less chance. But the probability have changed a lot in the recent sittings. Okay, so what are the types of questions they can ask from working capital management? They can ask for any kind of inventory management questions. There can be receivable management questions. Very less chance of asking any questions with regards to payable management. And most importantly, they can ask some questions with regards to cash flow forecast. So the cash flow forecast is really important. It's something very easy, but students never used to practice such kind of questions. So we have to mainly focus on these 3 areas from working capital. We'll go in depth. Okay, we have allocated our time for in the next 5 days. We'll be focusing on these 5 each headings. Okay, so today we'll be reversing working capital. And when it comes to investment appraisal, it's a section we have to literally focus more. I know that it's compared to other areas. I have given the weightage. Almost 24 to 30 marks can get tested from investment appraisal. For sure, anyway, you will get an investment appraisal question in your sections. So students used to focus more on section D. That literally doesn't mean that you have to spend the 50% of your study time for investment appraisal, because the investment appraisal itself won't make you pass this paper. But I literally know that students will get more interested with the type of calculations and the scoring we can get from investment appraisal compared to other areas. So there is a chance that you will practice more questions, and even some of the faculties used to focus more on this section. But it's a little bit lengthy section, even I do agree with it. But when it comes to the study time, you don't need to allocate much time for this, because hardly you can spend something of your total study hours. You have to only give something around 30% of your study time for this one. Otherwise, if you are planning your studies for the 5 days, and even in 5 days, let's say for the 10 to 15 days, out of which even if you're giving 5 to 7 days for investment appraisal, literally you don't have the time to cover the other areas. If you are not having the good knowledge, not having a complete knowledge, but a sort of good knowledge in the other areas such as source of finance, business valuation, and risk management, then it's literally a dream to pass this paper. Okay, so make sure that you properly allocate your time. I know that this section is a bit lengthy and interesting, the investment appraisal, but make sure that you properly plan your time. And next one is about the source of finance. From the source of finance, you can expect the questions with respect to cost of capital, and there will be some direct questions can get tested on the source of finance. What are the different sources of finance? You should be able to understand the characteristics of each source of finance.
And for sure, there can be a question from Islamic finance for 4 to 6 marks, either in MCQ or in section C. So altogether, you can expect something around 16 to 24 marks from this area of source of finance. So this source of finance area will include the different source of finance, the capital structure, the gearing area, as well as the cost of capital. So these are the different areas that will cover under source of finance. Different source of finance, then the capital structure theories, then the gearing area. There is a chapter relating to gearing and the cost of capital. So these are the 4 different chapters should cover when it comes to source of finance. Again, that's another like first mistake that every student makes. In source of finance, you will only focus on cost of capital, but literally have to give same kind of attention to the other chapters such as the theory, capital theory areas, as well as the source of finance chapters, because literally these are some direct easy marks you are getting. You're simply losing the chance to get the direct easy marks there. So it's very important that you have to focus on this cost of capital chapter. At the same time, give equal importance to other chapters such as source of finance, the capital structure theory, as well as the gearing ratios. Perfect. Now it comes to business valuation. If you are a student who have a very good knowledge about the cost of capital, the formulas that you have learned in cost of capital literally will help you to develop the knowledge for the business valuation. So literally is a section that have a link with each other. So even when I teach, I used to do the same. Like if you have done the cost of capital properly, literally that knowledge will help you to gain the knowledge of business valuation. So it's just like a bridge. Okay, it's a bridge to business valuation. If you have properly learned source of finance, then it's like a bridge to business valuation. And finally, the risk management is a completely separate area. Like even if you want, you can start at the beginning, or even if you want, you can keep it to the end. But I feel like it should be learned at the end, because there are some hedging tips and techniques that you have to learn. But it's not that much easy to remember it. So it's better you keep it for the end. Maybe you should start learning it at least before a week of your exam, but practice more questions towards the end of this exam period, because literally that practice of questions is highly required in that area. The concept itself is not enough. You have to manage your time, and especially the thought process you have to develop with respect to such risk management questions is really important. So you have to practice more and more questions to get used to with it. But literally the knowledge area is really less, but you have to think more when it comes to risk management. There are some tricks that can easily help you out with some of the questions, but that will only applicable for some long questions. If they want to simply confuse you, they can come up with some very good questions in the MCQ areas with respect to risk management. So at the same time, it's a knowledge part is really less, but if they want, they can really test this paper, because even when it comes to AFM, whatever you have learned in this risk management will be really helping you to as a stepping stone to this next paper. So those who are even planning to study AFM, I should have a good knowledge about risk management. So that's how you have to study your plan your studies, and I've told that which all areas you have to focus, how you have to give importance to each and every areas. Is it clear, everyone? Any doubts? Yeah, perfect. So we'll start off with the working capital management and its concept. So what do you mean by working capital? What do you mean by working capital? In working capital section, we know that every company with regards to working capital, they face the issue that is two conflicting issues, that is liquidity and profitability. So this is what we are trying to manage in a working capital situation, right? Because let's say the investment in working capital, the investment that we have in the working capital is literally the investments that you have in the working capital, the investments that you have in the working capital, such as investment in inventory, receivables. Literally the current asset investments. So these are the current assets investment we have. So as a company, you have to invest in inventories and receivables to create sales, and thereby you can generate profitability as well, right? Thereby you can generate profitability. But another issue when it comes to this profitability is, if you are focusing more on the profitability, since your cash is getting blocked in the form of inventories and receivables, literally you will start facing liquidity issues. So we won't be having enough cash in our hand to operate the business because our cash is getting stuck in the form of inventories. So how will you escape from this situation? Since you need cash, you will start borrow it at short term, because working cap is for working capital, right? So since the cash is getting blocked for the only for the short time period, you will start borrowing at the short term rates, such as, for example, the overdraft and all the stuff. Okay. As a result, it will increase your, if you are taking too much of overdraft, what will happen there? Then the company will incur more financing costs. So we know that if you have to focus more on the sales and the for sales by keeping more inventories and receivables, it will boost your profitability. At the same time, because of the liquidity issues, it will turn around to be a increase in the finance cost as well. So you should understand the fact that whether the profitability that you're going to expect from the sales should be exceeding your finance cost. Otherwise, the whole system will get breakdown. So that's what we are trying to manage with respect to working capital management section. So this issue, the liquidity and the profitability issue, that's what we are trying to solve in the working capital management area. Is it clear, everyone? Can you reply in the chat?
Yes, sir. Clear.
Yeah. So here after all that, especially the working capital investment means the investment in inventory. So literally that working capital management means you have to manage each and every components of working capital. So first of all, we'll start off with inventory management. How will you manage the inventory? How will you manage the inventory? How will you manage the inventory? There are different ways. Literally, inventory management means we should always make sure that the cost of inventory should be lower. So now my question is, what all includes in the cost of an inventory? What all items will include the cost of an inventory? Can you reply in the chat? Sorry, inventory management means literally you have to be very careful when it comes to the cost of investing in the inventory. So what all includes in the cost of inventory? Raw material, warehousing, work in progress. Yes. So the inventory include 3 items, that is raw materials, work in progress, and finished goods. So apart from that, the inventory cost will include the cost of purchase, then holding, then
Ordering.
cost. So these 3 items will be included in your inventory cost. So as a company, you have to make sure that you should reduce this overall cost, because if you increase your investment in working capital, that much amount of cash is getting blocked, and that will increase your finance cost as well. So as a company, you should always focus to reduce your inventory cost. So we have different ways to do it. So what are the different ways in which we can do it? We can achieve it. The first one it is we can order at EOQ. So what do you mean by EOQ? What do you mean by EOQ?
Economic order quantity.
Yes, economic order quantity. So if we order at economic order quantity, literally we can make sure that the ordering cost and holding cost will be minimum there. So that's the advantage of ordering at EOQ. So if you choose an EOQ model, and if you are ordering your goods at the EOQ quantity, so EOQ is calculated by considering your annual demand, your holding cost, and ordering cost, and that's how the formula for the EOQ has been developed. So what does it mean by this EOQ units? EOQ units means to say that if you order your goods at this particular quantity, then we can minimize your overall holding cost and ordering cost. So thereby we can reduce the overall cost of inventory. That's one of the ways in which we can do it. The next one, it is accepting. What's another ways in which we can do it? The inventory can be managed. Order in bulk. So you will get bulk discount offer. So if you order at bulk, if you're giving bulk orders, then you will get bulk discount. So bulk discount means literally maybe 1% reduction in your purchase price or something like that. So that will reduce your overall cost. Especially the purchase cost will get reduced if you are ordering it at the bulk discount offer. So what do you mean by bulk discount offer? You should order your goods at a really higher amount. So as a result, you can reduce your overall cost. How will be reducing your overall cost? Here we are not focusing on holding cost and ordering cost. Here we are trying to reduce your purchase cost. So literally, it will, as a whole, it will reduce your overall inventory cost. Is it clear, everyone? And finally, we have another model. We have got another model to manage inventory. That is just in time. So how just in time focus on zero holding cost. Just in time focus on zero holding cost. So these three different approaches focus on three different ways in which we can reduce your overall inventory cost. I hope you have already learned it. I'm just relating it and just having a revision on the same. So is it clear, everyone? How we can manage the inventory? So if you get a question on inventory management, most probably there will be two situations. Like if just in time, you won't be required to do any calculation with respect to just in time, but you should understand the theory part, such as what are the advantages and disadvantages of just in time, and whether the sometimes you can get a question like, can you apply just in time process in this particular situation? Will it be possible to introduce working just in time plan or system in this company? So that sort of discussion questions you can expect from just in time. There won't be any calculations as such. But when it comes to EOQ and bulk discount offer, of course, you have to show that comparative calculation between EOQ and bulk discount offer, suggesting which model should be accepted. Either we should order at EOQ or we should go for the bulk discount offer. Is it clear, everyone? Yeah, fine. So again, to make sure that one of the trickiest part when it comes to the inventory management is you should know how to calculate the holding cost. So how will you calculate the total holding cost? How will you calculate the total holding cost? Let's say if I have given the holding cost per unit is $2 and is my demand is 1 lakh and the reorder quantity is 30,000. So in that scenario, how will you calculate the holding cost? The total holding cost. Will you calculate the holding cost here? Total holding cost. Average inventory into holding cost, right? So it is average inventory into holding cost. So students, you should learn this formula. It is something you have learned in even in F2 itself. So how will you calculate average inventory? It is buffer safety inventory. This buffer safety inventory plus you have to include half of the reorder quantity. Half of the reorder quantity. Buffer safety inventory plus half of the reorder quantity. That's how we'll calculate. That's how you are going to calculate the average inventory. So let's say if buffer safety inventory is not given, then the average inventory will be how much? It will be the half of the reorder quantity. So in this scenario, I haven't mentioned anything about the buffer safety inventory level. So how will you calculate the holding cost, the total holding cost here? Can I reply in the chat? So it will be 30,000 divided by 2 into $2, right? So if you apply this formula, it will be average inventory. So here there is no safety inventory, so it is 30,000 divided by 2 into $2. Is it clear, everyone? Yes. So this is something you have to focus with respect to inventory management. So we'll calculate the total cost using the current order method as well as using EOQ and the bulk discount. Then we'll compare these three different calculations and which one is having a lower amount of cost, which one will give you a lower cost. We'll choose that particular model to order your inventories. If the holding cost, if the EOQ says that suggests that it will incur a lower cost there, then we'll go for EOQ. If the bulk discount offer as a whole gives you more cost relief, then we'll go for that. Can you reply in the chat? Okay. So we'll do a question with respect to inventory management. So can you see the question? So it's a question from September, December 2019 sample paper. A test on the inventory management. So just quickly go through the question. So this is your requirement. Calculate the annual holding cost and operating cost. So the first requirement is to calculate the annual holding and ordering cost of Dusty's current inventory management system. And next one is because to calculate the financial effect of adopting economic order quantity as the basis for the order inventory, and calculate the financial impact of accepting the bulk order discount, and recommend which justification, which option should be selected. So that's the first part of the question. Then we have to discuss about the working capital funding strategies as well. So that's how the questions can come from in any sections in the section 3. You cannot expect a whole 20 mark calculation questions. They will give a equal importance to the calculations and the theory areas. So here they are given 10 marks with respect to the calculation, another 10 marks with respect to the theory part. Perfect. So just read the question, just quickly go through the question. So have we gone through the question? So have you read the question? Can you reply in the chat, guys? Fine. So in this particular area, what was the first question? What was the first requirement? What was the first requirement? We need to calculate the annual holding cost and ordering cost using the current inventory management system. So that's worth 1 mark. So what's the current ordering system? What's their current ordering system? What's the current ordering system, guys? So Dusty company purchases 1.5 million units of component each year and consumes the component at a constant rate. The purchase price is $14 and the company places 12 orders each year. So here the current holding cost, how will you calculate the current holding cost here? So current holding cost will be, we know that every year they will order 12 orders. The total demand is 1.5 million. So how will you calculate the reorder quantity? It will be 1.5 million divided by 12, isn't it? And if you get the reorder quantity, you can easily calculate the holding cost. That is half of the reorder quantity into holding cost. So what is the half of the reorder quantity? 125,000 into 1/2 multiplied by 0.21. Is it clear, everyone, how to get that holding cost? How to get the total holding cost? Is it clear, everyone? Yeah. So once you get that holding cost, again you have to calculate the ordering cost. The ordering cost is, we know that in the current year they have told there is 12 orders, and for each order it is costing how much? 252, right? It is 252 into 12. Is it clear? Yeah, perfect. So what's the total cost? The total cost will be ordering cost plus holding cost. It is literally, the total cost will become 16149. So that was your first requirement. The first requirement was to calculate the annual holding and ordering cost of Dusty company using the current inventory management system. So we have done that. Is it clear, everyone? So that's what, it's a very straightforward question, and you just make sure that you remember the formulas, because these formulas will not be given with respect to working capital directly in the exam sheet, formula sheet. So you literally have to learn this formula, especially with respect to holding cost and all these things. Is it clear? Perfect. Sounds good. Shall we move to the next one? Yeah. So next one, calculate the EOQ. Calculate the EOQ. How will you calculate the EOQ? root of 2 COD by CH. Root of 2 COD, that is 2 into here. What's the ordering cost? It is 252 into the annual demand. Divided by holding cost, which is 0.21. Raised the whole raised to 1 by 2. So why I have taken the whole raised to 1 by 2? So instead of taking square, we can do the same to calculate the root in a Excel. So it will be 2 into 252. That is 150. Sorry, 1.5 million. So annual demand divided by holding cost, which is 0.21, raised to 1 by 2. Is it clear, everyone? Yes. So what is the EOQ here? What is EOQ here? It is 60,000. Perfect. Okay. Next one. If you order at this ordering cost, then it will be ordering cost will be 25 into 252. Right? Number of orders is 25 into 252. So what is 252 here? That's the ordering cost per unit. And the number of orders will be 25. So how will you calculate it? Because if you order at EOQ, the total demand of the year is 1.5 million divided by the EOQ, that is economic order quantity. So the new number of orders, if you are adopting EOQ in this company, if you are ordering at the EOQ system, the number of orders will be how much? 1.5 million. So divided by 60,000. Is it clear? Is it clear, everyone? Yes. So next one, in the same way, we have to calculate the holding cost. So how will you calculate the holding cost? Is half of the reorder quantity into CH. So it will be 30,000 into 0.21. Is it clear? Okay. Then total management cost. What will be the total management cost here? Ordering cost plus holding cost, it will be in total 12,600. And we know that if you are ordering at this particular quantity, there will be a decrease in the number of inventory. I've told that whenever there is a reduction in the investment in the inventory, we can literally save the finance cost there, because our cash is getting blocked in the form of inventory. So if there is a reduction in the number of inventories, then literally it will help to save some finance cost there. So how will you calculate it? Our earlier the ordering cost where reorder quantity was 125,000. Now the reorder quantity is 60,000. So we need to calculate the average. How will you take the average? It is 125,000 divided by 2 minus the new order is 60,000 divided by 2 into 14. So what is 14? The purchase price into 3%. What is 3%? That's the overdraft rate. That's the overdraft interest rate. Is it clear, everyone? Is it clear? So this is an adjustment which is new to this question. I know that there is not much questions in revision kit, okay, which have the same adjustment. So please note it down. So whenever there is a decrease in inventory, you can consider it as a cost saving, because if you are purchasing more inventories, our cash is getting blocked there. So because of the EOQ model, since there is a reduction in the number of inventory, we'll take the difference between the average inventory, that is 125,000 divided by 2 and 60,000 divided by 2. Then if you then you will get the average, and we have to take the difference. So there is a reduction in the inventory. So that reduction multiplied by the cost of inventory, that is $14. So that's a purchase price. That's our cash which was getting blocked in the form of inventory according to the current ordering system. But if we change to EOQ, then there is a reduction in the inventory, and we can literally save the finance cost there. Is it clear? Can you reply in the chat? Okay. So the finance cost savings is how much? It is 13,650. Then savings in the inventory management cost. So what's the savings in the inventory management cost? The total cost is 12,600. Then there is a benefit of 13,650. So what's the total savings we have here? It will be the sum of this finance cost and the difference in the total cost. Because if we are ordering at the current ordering system, the total inventory cost will be 16,13125 plus current ordering cost, it is 3024. 16,149 was our existing total cost of ordering inventory, but since it's changed to this amount, so now the total cost is how much? 6,300 plus 6,300. The inventory management cost is 12,600. So there also you got a benefit. So what's the benefit? Because of the reorder quantity, because of ordering at the economic order quantity, you literally saved 16,149 minus 12,600. So that money you have saved with respect to the management of inventory. Apart from that, because of the finance cost saving, which is 13,650, your total savings will be how much? By changing into EOQ model, your total savings will be 17,199. Is it clear, everyone? It will be 17,199. Is it clear? Can you reply in the chat? How to get that figure? 17199. Yes. And finally, if we adopt the bulk discount offer. So what's a bulk discount offer? Suggest you will get 0.5 percentage on purchase price. The company provided 250,000 units per order. So how much it is? The new order quantity is 250,000 and 1.5 million divided by 250,000. Your number of orders will become 6. And the ordering cost will be how much? 6 into 252. And the new holding cost will be 250,000 divided by 2 into 0.21. So the total management cost have increased to 27,762. Is it clear? So how will you calculate the finance cost here? So the existing ordering quantity was 125,000 into 14. Now we'll get a discount which is 5%. So 14 into 0.995 minus 625,000. Okay, into 14 multiplied by 3. So literally the finance cost savings will be how much here? How much is the finance cost saving? It is 25987.5. So is it clear, everyone? Can I reply in the chat? Okay. Now, because of the increase in the inventory management cost, because we know that it is 2772 and for current ordering it was 16149. So that literally it's an increase, right? But apart from that, you got the bulk discount as well. So what's the bulk discount? For 150,000, if you're ordering at 14, you can literally save how much? 0.5%. So how much is the bulk discount here? What is the bulk discount you are going to get? 105,000. So what's the total savings? It's 105,000 plus increase in the management cost is a cost, but the finance cost saved is 25987. So in total, you can make savings of how much? 67,399.5. Is it clear, everyone? Is it clear, everyone? How to get that 67,399.5? So there can be some questions. So it's a one of your 50 marks question, 20 marks question that you have tested in the recent sample papers. So we can expect the working capital can get tested in the 3 sections as well. And even if it's a inventory management, it seems to be easy, but you have to do the calculations very carefully. Is it clear, everyone? So which one will you suggest here? What's your recommendation here? Will you have to follow the, you have to order at the bulk discount or at EOQ or at the existing order? Which one we have to suggest? Can you reply in the chat? Which offer will you select here? Which one will give you more savings? Is it the bulk order or EOQ or the current order? Which one is giving you the more advantage? Can you reply in the chat? It will be the bulk discount, right? Because if you order at the bulk discount, the total savings will be higher compared to others. Yes. And there is another theory question as well. So what are the factors that determines the working capital funding strategy? So apart from the inventory management, we have to discuss about other managements as well, which is receivable management. So when it comes to receivable management, we have to be really careful. So we have got different ways or different techniques through which we can reduce the cost of receivables. What are they? Can you just list those? Different ways in which we can manage the receivables. First one, we can offer discount so that by giving early settlement discount, the customer will pay you in advance. So there we can literally save the finance cost. We can literally save the finance cost. Isn't it? Can you reply in the chat? Okay. So in the receivable management, again, we know that investment in receivables will increase your finance cost because our cash is getting blocked in the form of receivables. So we have to make sure that the customers will pay early. How to make sure that they will pay you early? You can offer discount. By offering early settlement discount, the customer can pay you in advance. Maybe instead of 30 days, they will pay you in 10 days. So there will be a reduction in the number of receivables. So that reduction, whatever the reduction in number of receivables, that can save you that will give you a finance cost savings. So on that reduction in receivables, you can save literally the finance cost. But what will be the cost here? What will be the cost here? Since you have offered the discount, the cost of discount, we have to consider the cost of discount. The cost of discount will be a important factor here. The cost of discount needs to be considered. So how will you calculate the cost of discount? I will just explain the formula. It will be, let's say if you are giving 5% discount into total sales multiplied by, they will give you in the question the percentage of customers who accept the offer. Let's say it is 25%. That's how we'll calculate the cost of discount. So that's a cost. That's a cost we will incur with respect to this particular receivable management. But you can save the finance cost here. So how will you save the finance cost? We need to calculate the new receivable and old receivable. So we have to calculate the new and old receivable. So there will be a difference. So there will be a decrease in the receivable. There will be a decrease in receivable. So that decrease multiplied by, they will give you the finance cost rate of interest, or most probably they will give an OD interest rate. So OD rate of interest. So if you multiply it, you'll get to know that what's your finance cost savings. So now we'll compare this savings, the finance cost savings, with your cost of discount. Let's say if the cost of financing is higher compared to the finance cost saved is higher with respect to the cost of discount, then we can say that, okay, the company can implement this option. The company can implement this system to offer early settlement discount. Is it clear? Can reply in the chat. Is it clear, everyone? So whenever it's a receivable management question, you have to calculate the current receivable and the new receivable in accordance to that offer which is accepted by the customers. Let's say if the current receivable days was 30 days and the new receivable days is 10 days, but you have to make the payment in advance. How will you make them to pay the payment in advance? We will give the offers. We'll give early settlement offers. So by giving this early settlement discussed offers, for the company who gives this offer, it's a cost. But how they will cover it up? We know that when there is a reduction in the number of receivables, on that reduction in the receivables, we can literally save the finance cost. So we'll compare that finance cost with the cost of discount. Then you'll get to know that, okay, whether it is acceptable to offer this discount or not. Is it clear, everyone? Can you reply in the chat? Can you reply in the chat, guys? Any doubts in this part? And finally, the payable management is not that much important. So apart from this particular method, even there is another method in which we can save the cost in managing the receivables, that is through factoring. Okay, so factoring agents, so they will be factoring agents. They will advance, so they will give you the advance of your receivable, and literally will take the responsibility to collect the debts from your customers. So there are two types of factoring. The first one, it is factoring with recourse and without recourse. So if it is a factoring with recourse, in that scenario, there won't be any kind of refund. So we don't need to pay any refunds to the factoring company for the debts which is not collected from the customer. The complete risk and rewards are transferred. Risk and rewards. The complete risk and rewards are transferred to factoring company. So in that scenario, the company can save the bad debt cost. So what's the savings there? The company can literally save the bad debt cost, and company can make savings in the administration cost. But there will be a cost. So what's the cost? The factoring fee, and on the advance amount, we have to pay interest to the factor. So let's say out of the total receivables, the factoring company is giving an 80% amount as a discount. So on that advance amount, we have to pay interest. So these are the two costs, but literally you can save some costs, such as savings in administration cost as well as savings in bad debt. These are your savings. So you can compare it with the cost. If the cost exceeds the savings, then we can say that, okay, introduction of factoring will be much better to manage the receivables. But there are some drawbacks with respect to factoring. So you have to learn that theories, the advantages and disadvantages with respect to factoring, because even that can get tested in your section C questions. So the advantages being, you can literally make sure that whatever the cash flows you have made through sales, literally you can use the cash flows from the operation to expand the company. You don't need to take any further debts. Literally you're keeping your own assets such as receivables to take more loans, right? So in a way, it's a cash flow which is generated through your operation itself. But the disadvantage being none of your customers will get like to deal with a third party that can affect the reputation of a firm. So these are some of the disadvantages that we'll have with respect to factoring. The advantages being our cost, and we don't need to hire a separate department. So admin cost will be a really a savings for you, as well as there won't be any bad at cost. Is it clear, everyone? And in with recourse, again, you can save the admin cost. But if it is with recourse, there is no savings on bad debt, and the cost, it will be the factoring fee and interest paid on advance amount from factoring company. Is it clear? Okay. And so we have discussed about the receivable management. We have discussed about the receivable management and inventory management. So is it clear, everyone? Is it clear, guys? And finally, we have got management of cash. So again, it's a theory area. So you can expect some theory questions or direct MCQ questions. So we have different models. First one is ball mold model to manage the cash. Ball mode is keeping the cash in accordance to EOQ, the optimal amount of cash. So instead of EOQ formula, ball mode is coming up with a new formula here, which is representative of a EOQ formula itself. That is root of 2 CS by I. Okay. So the ball mold model says that it's root of 2 CS by I. So what is root of 2 CS? So C means the transaction cost of raising new fund or transaction cost of selling a security. And S means your cash demand for the period, and I is the difference between the borrowing rate and the investing rate. So that's how we'll calculate the optimal level of cash needs to be kept in a company using ball mold model. Is it clear, everyone? So these are some theory areas that can test in the working capital area. That is, if you have cash, how will you manage it? We have got 3 different models. First one, it is EOQ model. So what's the minimum level of cash, of the optimal level of cash that we keep in our company? So it will be calculated using the formula, which is root of 2 CS by I, where C is the transaction cost of selling or raising a fund through securities, or S means the annual cash demand for the period, and I is the difference between the borrowing rate and the investment rate. Let's say if the borrowing rate is 12% and the investing rate is 9%, that difference of 3% will be considered as. So that's how we'll calculate the ball mold model. But there are some drawbacks because they are not considering any other cost rather than the transaction cost of keeping the cash. They're not considering the opportunity cost and all these stuffs. And they assume the cash level requirement will be same throughout the period. So these are some wrong assumptions. So we cannot keep the level of cash in accordance to an inventory. So it is because it is more volatile in accordance to the needs of the company. But ball mold assumes that these items are constant. The transaction rate, the required amount for the period, everything remains the same. That's his assumption. Is it clear, everyone? The ball mold model. Can you reply in the chat? And we have got another model with respect to the cash management. That is with respect to Miller-Orr model. That is with respect to Miller-Orr model. So in this Miller-Orr model, we are following the practice that, okay, we have to keep the cash at two levels, two different levels. That is a higher level and a lower level. There is an upper limit and lower limit. So if the cash reaches the upper limit, then it reaches the upper limit. We have too much of cash. Then we have to buy more securities and we'll come back to a return point. And if you reaches at a lower level of cash limit, then you don't have enough cash. Then whatever the securities we have in our hand, we have to literally sell it and come back to the return point. Okay, so that's how the Miller-Odell model works. So there is two levels of cash. There is a upper limit and a lower limit. So difference between this upper limit and lower limit is known as the spread. Okay, so the Miller's model says that you have to keep a higher limit for the cash and a lower limit for the cash. So this point is known as a return point. And the difference between the higher limit and lower limit is known as spread. So this spread is calculated as 2/3. So 2/3 of this spread will be the distance between the upper limit and return point. And 1/3 is the distance between lower limit and the return point. So if you have this idea in your mind, whenever it reaches a higher amount of cash, we can simply sell their securities to come back to this return point. So they have given a formula for calculating it. It will be given directly in your exam formula sheet. That is 3/4 into transaction cost into variance of cash flows divided by I raised to 1/3 into 3. So that equation will be given directly in your exam formula sheet. Okay, guys. So that's about the cash management. And there are some theory areas you have to learn. Let's say when you're predicting the cash, if you're having a short-term cash surplus, how to deal with the situation. If you have a long-term cash flow surplus, how to deal with the situation. So if you have a long-term cash surplus, what you have to do? You have a long-term cash surplus. So in that scenario, you have to look for the expansion. You have to invest in the new companies. That's how we'll effectively make use of that cash. If you have short-term cash surplus, then you have to pay off literally your short-term liabilities and invest in short-term investments. That's how you'll make use of that cash. The same way, there will be short-term deficit as well. So if you have short-term deficit, then you have to take overdraft and all these stuff to operate the company. But if you have a long-term deficit, long-term cash deficit, in that scenario, you have to look for issuing debt or shares to fund for the company. So these are the different ways in which the company needs to manage the cash. So how will you predict it? We have to predict the cash flows. So the cash flow prediction is literally easy. We have to compare the cash receipts. So we have to compare the cash receipts for a period with the cash payments. So we have to compare the cash receipts for a period with the cash payments. Then so we'll predict it. Let's say if you're making up a sale in January, the 20% of will get paid in the current month, and another 50% will paid in the next month, another 30% will paid in the month next to it. So they will be giving certain conditions in which, or the ways in which the company can generate the cash, or in the ways in which we have to make the payables. So on the basis of that specific scenario, which is explained in the question, you have to predict the cash flow for the next 2 periods or 3 periods. So it's an easy stuff. You just need to focus more on the question, and this is a format we will follow. That is cash receipts minus cash payments. So if it's a deficit, then we'll consider as an overdraft. If it's a surplus, then if it's an excess amount, the receipts is excess of payment, then it's like a surplus. Okay, and then you will get an asked question. You will get tested on a question that how to treat that surplus, how will you use that surplus, or how to overcome that deficit. So to do that, you have to learn the theory as well. Is it clear, everyone? And most importantly, in the final step, we have to discuss about the working capital funding policy. So basically, there are 2 types of working capital investments. That is permanent current assets and temporary current assets, or fluctuating current assets. So what do you mean by permanent current assets, such as the inventory or the receivables or the cash balance? that you have to keep permanently throughout the period. That is known as permanent current assets. And what about the fluctuating one? It means that it keeps on fluctuating. It keeps on fluctuating over the period. So in that scenario, if it's a permanent current assets, then the company need to use the long-term finance to fund it. But if it's a fluctuating current asset, then the company need to use the short-term financing to fund for it. Is it clear, everyone? So if it's a company which is following a conservative approach, they will be using the long-term fund for funding for both permanent current assets and the fluctuating current assets. If the company is following an aggressive approach, then both this permanent current assets and the fluctuating current assets will get funded using the short term, because that can save you the cost. So it's like a risky element there. It will save your cost, but we have to check the fact that even though it saves your cost, there is a higher risk of system breakdown there. Okay. Then finally, a moderate approach. Moderate approach means a company which is having a permanent current assets will be using long-term fund to fund for it, and the company which is using short-term current assets, so such as fluctuating current assets, they will be using short-term funds to supply finance for it. So that is known as moderate approach. So that's what they have actually tested here. That's what they are actually tested here in the last part. Key factors we have to consider in determining the working capital funding strategies. Is it clear, everyone? So that's all about the overall revision of that particular section, working capital management. And I will share you this slide. So these slides have some other questions such as Pengley and VQC company, okay, and Oscar company. So these are some other questions you can practice with respect to working capital. So I've just mentioned the question name and the dates itself. So you can just go through that question, and I hope we can just refer to this Excel, then you'll get to know the workings as well. Is it clear, everyone? So you know that it's a short types of revision. So I've just gone through the main aspects and some of the recent questions that I have tested on working capital. And we have almost discussed every important theories and concepts in working capital. I hope there is no further doubts in working capital. If you have any doubts with respect to working capital, you can ask me. Otherwise, we can wind up the section. So I tried to cover almost every aspects and every important aspects of working capital. I hope you haven't missed anything. But specifically if you have any doubts with respect to that section, you can ask me. Or else if you have any other doubts in general, you can be frank to ask. Prerna, Rojan, David Priya, Nipa, Akansha, Ahalam, Colin, Rosie. Is it clear, everyone? Any doubts? Can you reply in the chat? Okay, guys, so that's it for the day. I will be sharing this slide to your group. Just make sure that you practice the other questions as well. Okay, and if you come across any doubts from this area, just let me know and you can just leave your questions. And this is my number. If there is any doubts, you can call. Okay, so this is my number, contact number. If you have any doubts, you can just WhatsApp me. Okay, so that's it. So tomorrow again, it will be at 12 p.m. Okay. And if there is any change in the timing, I will let you know. Okay, bye guys.